The deep dive. You know, it's easy to think that when a huge military exercise like Zapad finishes, everything just snaps back to normal.
Yeah, like flipping a switch.
Exactly. But for the countries right there on Europe's eastern flank, that all clear, it's really not that simple. Not a switch off at all.
No, definitely not. It's much more of a slow transition. The effects linger, the preparations continue, and there's this heightened readiness. It creates a very different kind of normal that can last for quite a while, weeks, maybe even months.
Right, and that's what we're really digging into today. We're unpacking what happens after these big Zapad drills, specifically now they're winding down as of September 17th, 2025. What's the impact? On security, sure, but also the economy, daily life. Our mission using insights from the Europe East Today briefing is to figure out why that vigilance, what our source calls the mesh, stays firmly up. Because this isn't just troop movements, it hits communities, supply chains, maybe even your wallet.
And the briefing really paints a picture. It mentions Zapad window, day 6. You might think, okay, day 6, tension's easing.
Yeah, winding down.
But the intelligence shows something else entirely. The official end. It's just a shifting gears, not, everyone standing down. The awareness stays high.
Okay, let's unpack this mesh stays up idea then. The initial reports, they sound okay. No fresh allied airspace breaches overnight as things taper off. That sounds positive.
It does on the surface.
But dig just a little, and the message from those border states is crystal clear. They are not lowering their guard. That vigilance is still absolutely key.
And what's really interesting, I think, is that while the physical drills might be ending, the operational debriefing, that's actually ramping up. The briefing says border states are keeping CCAP's layered and Dusk EW procedures in place while they debrief and tune the playbooks. So CCAPs, combat air patrols, and EW electronic warfare, they're still active.
So the planes might not be flying quite as many sorties, but the electronic eyes and ears are still very much on.
Exactly. They're learning. It's a proactive thing, refining their plans based on what just happened. The real work, the analysis, that keeps going long after the main show is over.
So even if it looks quieter, the strategic game is still intense. And speaking of air activity, you mentioned CCAPs. What about things like QRA Quick Reaction Alert and the AWACS planes?
Still steady. The rotations are ongoing. And those rules of engagement, the shoot if inside ROE, they haven't changed either. They are prioritizing crew rest, rotating people after the intense period.
Which makes sense.
Right. It shows it's a managed shift, maintaining readiness, not just a sudden stop. It's disciplined.
Okay. But you mentioned EW, electronic warfare. That sounds like something that could affect more than just military systems.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where it really potentially hits home for civilians.
Yeah.
The GNSS picture, that's your GPS, basically.
Right.
The briefing warns that pockets of spoofing and jamming remain most likely sunset late evening, even after the main drills.
Wow. So your GPS could still be unreliable, maybe even deliberately messed with, especially in the evenings. What does that mean for, just driving your car or getting a delivery? Or emergency services?
It means the people running critical civilian stuff, logistics companies, they stick to what the source calls degraded mode SOPs, standard operating procedures for when things aren't working perfectly.
Degraded mode SOPs, so backup plans.
Essentially, yeah.
Right.
They have to be ready to operate without reliable GPS, maybe without perfect communications. Think trucks using older navigation methods, emergency crews having backup comms. They're prepared for their digital tools to potentially fail. It's a readiness posture that becomes, kind of the norm in these situations.
That's a huge background hum of disruption, isn't it? Almost invisible, but definitely affecting daily life. And looking ahead, the briefing talks about counter-UAS drones.
Yes, unmanned aerial systems. It says the first safe priority lists are coming out.
Safe lists.
Yeah, detailing what's most needed to counter drones. It lists things like sensors, jammers, SHORAD.
Short-range air defense.
Right, repair spares, operator EW training. It's not just a random list. It shows a very clear focus. They're adapting fast to these modern threats.
And this links into another area, doesn't it? The information space. The briefing mentions narratives.
It notes low-grade NATO escalation chatter persists. So even if the physical activity reduces, let's call it the info war, continues. Managing public perception is vital.
So how do local authorities handle that? That kind of chatter can cause panic.
Well, according to the briefing, municipalities keep to one message alerts. They focus on clear, consistent communication. Avoid overwhelming people, stick to the facts, prevent rumors from spreading.
Clarity over volume.
Exactly. In times like these, that's absolutely crucial. Less noise, more signal.
It's really striking how the focus shifts from the kinetic, the physical drills, to these other layers: information, readiness, technology, and of course, the economy.
Yes, the economic ripples are significant too. The briefing touches on Poland, for instance. Their core CPI, the Consumer Price Index, just came out.
Inflation data.
Right. And markets are now digesting implications for the NBP, that's the National Bank of Poland, path into Q4. So what will the central bank do about interest rates?
Yeah.
That has real economic consequences.
And regionally. What about currencies like the Polish zloty, the Hungarian forint, the Romanian leu?
The briefing says they're broadly range-bound for now. But the key thing analysts are doing is watching front-end yields as EU data lands this week.
Front-end yields. Short-term government bond interest rates.
Exactly. They're like a canary in the coal mine for market sentiment about inflation, central bank moves, regional stability. If those yields jump suddenly.
It could mean trouble, higher borrowing costs.
Potentially, yes. It signals anxiety. So everyone's watching those very closely. It affects businesses, households, everything.
And for you, filling up your car or getting goods delivered, are prices still high?
The briefing says diesel premia on frontier routes ease slightly, but buffers remain priced in.
Buffers priced in, meaning?
Yeah. Meaning, even though the immediate exercise surge might be over, the risk premium, the extra cost added to account for potential disruption or uncertainty, that's still there.
Okay. So maybe fuel is a bit cheaper than during the peak of the drills, but it hasn't dropped back to pre-exercise levels because the risk hasn't fully vanished.
Precisely. That geopolitical risk gets baked into everyday costs. Logistics firms, insurers, they build in those buffers. It's part of operating in this sensitive environment now.
Okay, let's talk movement. Borders. You mentioned Belarus earlier. Crossings still slow.
Definitely not back to normal. The briefing says time checks continue today. They expect gradual easing over the next day or two.
But for now?
For now, plan for an extra plus 90 minutes on ETAs. That's a big delay if you're driving or running a truck schedule.
Yeah, that adds up. And it's not just roads, right? What about rail?
Rail and intermodal transport are still absorbing overflow. Suggests the whole logistics network is still under pressure. Things haven't just snapped back.
And the Ukraine corridors. Obviously a separate ongoing situation, but how are they functioning amidst all this?
Described as stable with periodic inspections, and crucially, humanitarian lanes prioritized. So there's careful management there, keeping essential aid moving even with regional tensions high.
And airports.
Yeah.
Any lingering effects?
Mostly ops normal, according to the briefing, but no TAM playbooks, stay ready for any mass strike nights.
No TAMs. Notices to air missions. Playbooks ready. So they're running normally, but they have contingency plans ready to go instantly if needed.
Exactly. It's not relaxed. It's prepared. A posture of readiness, not relaxation. That's the key theme here.
Readiness, not relaxation. That sums it up well. You know, the briefing uses this framework to help make sense of all these different layers. SEALE.
Yes, the SEALE framework. It's actually a really neat way to structure thinking about these complex after effects. Helps connect the dots.
So SEALE stands for?
Stakeholders, constraint flip, analogy layers, and edge cases.
Okay, let's break that down. SES for stakeholders. Who are the key groups affected, and what do they need right now?
Well, the briefing flags up several. Residents, they need clear need-to-act alerts, no confusion. Logistics companies, they're crying out for predictable ETAs.
Makes sense.
Mayors, focused on rumor control, keeping panic down. And SMEs, small businesses, they're watching fuel insurance costs like hawks because it hits their bottom line directly. Each group has really distinct needs.
Okay. Then C constraint flip. What's that about?
This is a fascinating point about communication. It says, fewer, clearer notifications beat many nudges clarity volume.
So the constraint isn't necessarily lack of info. It could be too much confusing info.
Exactly. It flips the script. Sometimes less is more. If that less is precise, timely, and actionable, too many updates just become noise. It's about strategic communication.
Got it. A is for analogy. How do we make this whole situation easier to grasp?
The source suggests treating the flank like winter ops, slow, layered, disciplined.
Winter ops. I like that. It immediately makes you think cautious, methodical, needing extra prep.
Precisely. You don't rush in winter. You layer up, you move carefully. It implies a sustained, deliberate posture, not a sprint. Things are slower, more resource intensive for a period.
Okay. L for layers. This seems key.
It really is. It highlights the connection from the micro, like specific GNSS advisories or timing on NOTAMs, all the way up to the macro.
Like alliance credibility and deterrence?
Exactly. It shows how these small operational details actually contribute to the big strategic picture. Everything is interconnected, from a GPS warning in one small area to how strong an entire alliance looks.
And finally, E for edge cases, the extreme possibilities.
Right, things that are maybe low probability but high impact if they happen. The briefing mentions things like GNSS spoof during medevac. Imagine a medical helicopter losing navigation mid-flight.
That's terrifying.
Or debris false alarms in low-density areas, causing unnecessary panic or resource diversion. These aren't just theoretical exercises. They highlight real vulnerabilities and the human cost if things go wrong, even with minor glitches. It underscores why that constant readiness is needed.
It really forces you to think about the what-ifs that planners have to consider constantly.
Even in a winding down phase, yes.
Yeah.
That vigilance has to cover these edge cases too.
So, putting it all together, what should we